It has occurred to me that people need help in areas that I think I can help them. And that is in the care and the nurturing of the alcoholic. Yes, if you have one in your life,
which you're supposed to lead up to this very gently, do a whole family background, all the problems you have, all of these problems that you've had over your life. Now you just jump right in there, feet first.
Well,
like I'm the only person that you ever met that had a few drinks.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yes, everyone has an alcoholic in their life somewhere. You know, even if it's distant cousin. I mean, and you may have numerous alcoholics, like I did. Father, uncles, boyfriends by the ton, sons, husbands. So
what was that last
I'm
one?
An expert.
What was that last one?
Husbands.
Ta-da!
And boyfriends that were alcoholics.
Well, you only had one.
So I think that I could probably help other people. Now, I think the main thing you've got to do if you have an alcoholic is try not to blame them for everything. They are to blame for a lot, but just try to not be unfair. Because
this was supposed to be a promo for something you're going to do now. Don't help me.
Well, yes.
By the way, I'm wearing this hat for one of the guys who saw one of my karaoke things. I'm gonna get that kind of thing and put it on the side of my van. And I
yes,
thought,
he's so happy. A trucker contacted him to get. He wants this.
It wasn't a contact.
He loves these hats.
One of those.
Comments.
I saw that karaoke thing you did there, and I love that.
Oh, he's so happy. He's been taking his authentic trucker.
How do you like the shirt?
Buddy. He's an authentic, yes. He's authentic. But anyway, what I'm saying is alcoholism, because it's so flamboyant, because so many drunks do go out and make a bad impression on people, this often causes them to be blamed for a lot more than they really are to blame for. As I saw that happen. Now, my dad was an alcoholic, and my mother, she had ungodly temper, a lot worse than his. But,
Now, wait a minute. When you go like this and say his, you're not referring to me. You're referring to your father,
yes.
right?
Yeah, well, my father. Well, my father was a little bit like his. He just been born.
I never rode a horse more than twice in my life.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Well, he'd been born with a little less temper than my mother. And so my mother started dealing with his alcoholism. Like the minute he'd walk in the door, she would be saying like, "You son of a bitch, you've had a drink." And he'd be going, no, he just got so he'd just lie shamelessly. He'd be staggering and he'd say, no, honey, I have not drunk anything.
No, wait a second.
Then she'd say,
wait a
you
second.
liar, you rotten dog-damn
Wait a
liar.
second. Let's put this horse back in the corral for a second, all right?
Yeah.
What did he do? Just meet this? What is he, 28 and she's 18? Did you just meet her and say, hey, let's get married? And she says, sure. Don't they ever date? I mean, never even go out, let's have a couple beers together, honey. Well, I'm only 18. Well, I guess I don't.
Yes, but at 18, he didn't know that she was practically a psycho, I thought she was as soon as I got too well acquainted with her. I thought,
wait a minute.
I got psycho mom.
Didn't she know this guy had a tendency to have a little tippling here and there, and he played around with the cowboys?
No, she didn't know that.
Cowboys come into town to drink, folks. They don't come into town to horse around.
She didn't know that, but my dad, I think, after he finally learned what a terrible temper he had, and this is something that my mother did that was really rotten, she could not whip him. He was too strong. He was a cowboy and he was very strong. So what would she do? Whip these little kids. Just whip the hell out of them. And,
that would explain really a lot of your attitude of life.
it really got to him like, he'd come in, oh, you shouldn't whip those little kids like that. And she'd, I'm not spoiling them like you're spoiled. And just to make sure don't grow up like you, I'm going to whip the tar out of them every day. So, every day we got our whipping, and
you know what? It worked. You know why it worked? This woman does not drink or smoke, which only goes to prove that you can't have any fun without drinking and smoking.
And then, of course, then my mother soon realized that alcoholism, if you're married to an alcoholic, he could be blamed for everything. Nobody'd even notice her temper because his drinking was so spectacular. My dad would stagger. He would be very obviously drunk. He couldn't, Doc doesn't stagger, but my dad was one of those that he would drink enough that he would be staggering, falling down, hitting into the walls. You know, and so she soon learned that his alcoholism could cover up all her crimes. You know, my mother would get mad at some woman that snubbed her. She'd say, I know I can whip her. I know I can whip her. And then she'd fantasy, oh, if I get the chance, I'll just... And then she'd tell me, well, when I was growing up in school, if somebody ever messed with me, she said, I made sure I hurt them. And I'd be shuddering, you know, oh, yeah, I know what you mean.
Mom. And
you couldn't reason with
her. And you wonder why I go through underpants 3 times a day, huh, Mom? You wonder why that?
Yeah, my mom, you know,
well, you kids have to do your own laundry. I'm busy.
I'd tell my dad, Mom's crazy, Dad. Mom's crazy. And well, he knew it. He knew it. Don't you dare die. Don't you dare die and leave us with her. Oh, so he died like, oh, no, I can't die. You know, my dad was trying to commit suicide. I mean, he had been trying to commit suicide. He thought he was a rotten, low down. And he was just trying his best to commit suicide. And when he got her and had a bunch of little kids, why here we'd be saying, Daddy, protect us from Mother, protect us. And so he'd think, my God, if I commit suicide, and I knew it. I knew we'd be, us little kids, we would be, if he committed suicide,
well, you'd probably been put
we
up
were
for
going to get beat up a lot worse.
It's probably been put up for grabs, you know, like, anybody in the family want one? We got 2, we got 3,
are
you can take what you
kidding?
want.
Oh, and we wouldn't even had him to protect us. Because he'd come home every day and say, did you get a whipping today? We'd say, so he'd have,
That's funny because
I guess I can't commit suicide.
Did your mother whip you today? No. Well, I guess I'm going to have to.
No, it wasn't that way at all. It was trying to stop. And, you know, and his sisters, they saw a few of those whippings, and we've got to take those kids away from her. She's abusive, and so I'd hear that and I'd think, oh, what's going to happen to us? Well, Daddy can protect us. He can whip her, and she doesn't dare be too mean if he's there. But the problem was that my dad had probably been trying to commit suicide for a long time, and you know, we were just petrified that he would commit suicide, and we said, you know, the thought of him committing suicide was just, even though he was an alcoholic, even though he was a low-down, scummy, horrible alcoholic, we just thought that we'd say, well, Daddy, it don't matter how bad you are. It's not that bad. Just stay alive and, you know, do your duty. Take care of us.
Well, that's the way I have looked at it in my past lifetime.
And his sister...
I've been married 4 times, raised 13 kids, and none of them were mine. And if that isn't scary, I don't know what the hell is.
And what is more, I had a mean aunt, his sister, who was all in favor of alcoholics committing suicide. I found this out. I mean, there was a woman alcoholic there in town that had little kids, and I told her one day, I said, oh my God, that young mother, she's an alcoholic. She tried to commit suicide last night, and they saved her. And my aunt...
Well, how did she try Drink herself to death?
Yeah, I don't know what, but
Slit her wrist?
they had to go take her to the hospital and revive her.
Shoot herself
And
in the
I told
foot?
her she has little kids, and my aunt, my dad's sister, said, well, it's too bad she didn't succeed. Those kids would be better off without her. And I thought, oh my God, even my aunt, his sister actually wanted him dead too.
Would
because
you stop
an
pointing your
alcoholic
thumb in my direction?
Is so bad. I don't know how, but women, when they get around alcoholics, they can be the meanest women on earth, but if they don't drink, they get away with it.
Listen, I have never known a woman in my life like this one, okay? Doesn't drink, doesn't smoke, and it's got the most terrible background I've ever heard of. Every woman I've ever known drank, and probably most of them, half of them smoked. And so I don't come from a background like that. So that scares the bejesus out of me right there, Besides, I never wore a hat like this before either until she gave it to me.
Well, let me tell you, when I found out that my dad's sister had this philosophy, an alcoholic is just better off killing himself, and so I realized that alcoholics had to be protected, because my aunt did not seem to realize that if my dad committed suicide, we would be a lot worse off. Here she was saying, more or less, every alcoholic should just go out and kill themselves. Their families would be better off. Her own brother, if you can imagine. And I thought, what's happened here? The philosophy that alcoholics are so bad that their kids and everybody would be better off if they kill themselves. Mm-hmm. Now, my dad got that message, so he was trying to kill himself. He knew, he had learned that his sister thought he would be better off dead. Just go ahead and do it. My mother constantly be saying, go ahead and do it, go ahead and do it. Because by then, if he had property, had money, she wanted him. And I can remember my mother going through life. He's supposed to die, and he hasn't done it. It was hard for my dad to stay alive. I mean, everybody wanted him dead.
That's not fair, is it?
Look at you.
That's just not fair. Well, see, how does that explain me? I have no children to take care of. I have no family.
Well, because you're an alcoholic, your children were taken away from you.
Then why am I trying to kill myself?
Because your children were taken away from you.
Well, no, I think one of the problems
you were thought
was
too much of a drunk to take care of them naturally, so she couldn't let them come and be under your care because you were an alcoholic. You said, "I'll let my mother take care of them. She doesn't drink." That wasn't good enough. You were an alcoholic. You were an alcoholic, so your wife, ex-wife, you said, lied to the court, said you were an alcoholic.
No, they never said that at all.
What'd she say?
Do we have to go through this before?
Well, I know she didn't want you to take the children after the divorce because you weren't fit to take care of them. Right?
No, that didn't happen at all.
Well, why did she stop you from taking care of them then?
Do we have to go through this again?
Well, the
second kid was. Don't you get the picture?
Well, why did she
here?
tell the kids that you were dead?
The same reason her parents told them.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Because they lied.
Right. Well, I'm sure he was perceived as an alcoholic. He would be better off dead. The kids would be better off if they were told that he was dead. And so
you make up stories that I really.
Well,
now wait a minute.
Isn't that the truth?
Isn't this supposed to be
They
a new
did not
series?
want you to have anything to do with those kids. So see, this poor guy was robbed, and I know this to be true. I mean, now my son's an alcoholic. And when his wife divorced him, she decided to take the kids and move way far away. And I knew she was mad at
Which one of your sons?
Oldest, Gary. And so I asked her, I said, well, if you move very far away, he won't be able to see them and have anything to do with them. And much. Hardly at all. And I won't be able to see them either.
No, wait a minute.
Well,
isn't this supposed to be a promo for your new series?
I think that she,
promo for the new series?
I think that she thought they would be better off if they didn't see him because he was an alcoholic. And they would be better off not to see me because by then I was to blame I had enabled him, done something to him, caused him to be an alcoholic.
That's right. You didn't let him drink.
And I know, so she didn't. She shouldn't consider me. So she took those kids.
She doesn't drink. She doesn't smoke.
I never saw the kids.
Does,
I only saw the kids about 4 or 5 times after that. They were like
you know the
8
old,
and 10.
You know the old adage.
Never saw them hardly again.
If you tell your kid not to do something, and because I don't do it, he's going to do it, right?
But my son was blamed because, what was he? He was an alcoholic. I mean, he went to work every day. He earned money. He was able to pay his child support, but he was such an alcoholic that I know she wanted to move away from him so he wouldn't see him and he wouldn't, his pernicious influence would not be pernicious.
What's that?
So alcoholics
Pernicious?
are so bad.
How many people do you
That
think
their
know what that
wives
word means?
can take them and move to Timbuktu to get their kids away from them.
I went to Kathmandu.
And I'm sure, just like me, now if my mother had divorced my dad and wanted to take me to Timbuktu, I would have been terrified. I would have said, please, 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 I don't want to go with my sober mother. I need to stay where my drunken dad is so he'll protect us.
Why don't you just go to St. George and get it over with?
And I didn't exactly trust my dad either because when he was drunk, so, but I knew that he didn't have the temper my mother did, and we'd probably be better off, at least in the vicinity of my dad, so that he could rush in there if she tried to kill us and stop her, because he knew that she had a streak of
perniciousness in her.
So see, just because you've got an alcoholic around you,
folks, you know
it's
why I don't quit drinking?
temptation to blame him for even all of your sins. Now this is natural for wives or girlfriend or anybody that's married or with an alcoholic. Blame him. He's to blame for everything because it's obvious he is a very bad egg. Very bad. I mean, and this is not right. This is not fair. This is why I need to talk about protecting the alcoholic. He can't possibly stop drinking if he's dead.
Thank you so much.
He needs to be taken care of.
God really is an old lady.
As bad as he is.
That's right.
If there's
Oprah
a
Winfrey
little
said
bit of
God is really a woman, and I believe this woman here is God.
If there's
and
a
she's
little
gonna
bit of
take
life
care of
left
me.
in him, don't give up on it. I mean, as long as he's still alive, there's hope.
You know, the sad thing about this is YouTube has given us kind of like an unlimited 20 or 30 minutes, and she's going to keep going until they blow it.
And here's my dad.
Cut her off.
Here's my dad, who he reminds me of him. He's very smart, do a lot of stuff, and so if that dies, even if it's alcoholic, it's gone. The brilliant brain is dead. As long as this brilliant brain is still alive, something might come out of it. And, it does come out of it. It protects me. This man protects me. He keeps me alive because I can come down here and talk to him, and I can't talk to hardly any other people because he's humbled. He's an alcoholic, so he can put up with it.
I'm humbled because you are such a presence. And such a presence. I want to get down on my knees and just kiss your feet. Can I wash your feet, ma'am?
I mean, what could I be? I probably got some bad qualities. After all, my mother was psycho and my dad was...
You probably have some bad qualities. Folks,
sure.
We better cut this off.
Well, I think I'm perfect. I'm pretty near perfect because I don't drink. If I don't drink,
that's right. But you might be a little overweight, but we don't worry.
We don't. See how he protects me, and I protect him. I protect him.
That's right. And the series is going to be a disaster.